I want to run over what I'm running for a service truck that I take to the woods every day. It's a 2003 Dodge Ram, 1-ton, Laramie, leather interior. It's got a 6-speed manual. It was ordered that way. Laramie never would have came out with 6-speed. I'm running a flatbed. I could do a service bed, but I have gooseneck trailers. So that really kind of shut down the service bed idea for me. So I stuck with a flatbed, put the toolboxes on here that I really needed. And I also run a trailer at the woods that I keep some more tools on, my chainsaws, and fuel and an air compressor and whatnot. Starting up front, ranch hand front bumper, good solid thing for bouncing deer off of and taking off-road and twigs and stobs when you're driving out across the field. This is a 5.9 Cummins truck. I've had 4 of these trucks. That right there, that 07 being one of them. I've had real good luck with them. This truck is set up with a set of pack brake airbags in the rear and also a pack brake exhaust brake. It's got a switch right there on the stick shift. I can kick on. Right there is the air compressor for that. It's got a little half-gallon air tank up under the front bumper. Really good for slowing you down when you're towing. These wires that you see here are some of the hard wiring that I've done on stuff. Did it all up right, put good heavy heat shrink tubing on everything. Fused. Another one over here, big maxi fuses, 50 amp fuses. One of these is for the fuel pump, which is this one, and then this one is for the power inverter that I've got hardwired. I feel like if you're going to use a truck in the woods or in the construction realm or whatever, a power inverter is the way to go. I've got mine set up right here underneath the passenger seat. It's a 1500 watt continuous, 3000 watt peak. All I got to do is reach down here and kick it on. I can charge batteries off of it. I've ran a grinder off of it. I've used a forced air torpedo heater to warm up equipment. I've ran it off of that. Just find all kinds of uses for that thing. Really a good thing to have. Come around here in the cab. Got my satellite radio sitting in here. That actually bounces back and forth in between the log loader. If you ever need a flashlight, this rechargeable stream light right here, brighter than heck. It's nice. It's got its own charger. You can plug it into 110 or 12 volt. Bright. They are kind of pricey, but they'll handle a lot and put out a lot of output. There's the exhaust brake switch right there on the cab, or the shifter. Got some gauges down here, tells you what your airbags are running at, what your air tank's running at. Brake controller, that's a Takancha, pretty good one. I've been real happy with those. Edge programmer over there in the corner. I'm not a real big, not that I try running a lot of power out of this thing, but I like it for gauges. Tell me what everything's running at. We'll go around the other side. Some of the basic stuff I carry here in the cab: log ruler, bar wrench, file, just backups, map, and a few other necessities in there. Back here I carry a chain grinder. I keep this on hand for bucksaw chain. Every once in a while I'll use it for grinding the rakers on my chainsaw chain I cut timber with. And also if I'm out there cutting timber and I hit something, be it metal in a tree, fence, nail, hit the dirt or something and it boogers up the chain, I'll throw it off, put a different chain on, and I'll come back up later and touch it up with this. That way I don't file on it by hand as much. Tape measures, heat shrink tubing assortment, handy stuff for making electrical repairs. Some more tape measures. John Deere O-ring seal kit for these flat-faced O-ring hydraulic fittings. Just keep them on hand in case you have anything that's nasty. These are real heavy-duty rubber gloves. Those are good for if you're going to put rubber gloves on for a project that's going to be nasty for a while. These will last. They're plenty heavy, and these are just some light duty ones if you're going to do something that you know is nasty and you need to take them back off. This is some rubber belting off of a hay baler that I am going to use to redo the steps on my 648 G3. The side box down here, keep a few basic things, some extra antifreeze for the truck, not that it ever needs it, but I got it. Some extra oil, some diesel 911 back there, some cleaner that I have on hand, and got a 2166 Johnson red that just rides in here all the time. Extension cord to run off the power inverter, and just kind of miscellaneous catch-all stuff. Now that power inverter does run my chain grinder. That's all the time. I've got a bracket built into it, and I mount the chain grinder right here and run it off the power inverter. It works fantastic. I'll run you back in the cab in a minute, but I've got a 25 gallon a minute GPI pump hooked into a 50-foot hose reel, and then got work lights and a strobe, which is really good for when you're doing stuff off the road or moving a skidder down the road or something. All that's real handy. I've got everything set up with switches right here in the cab. I can turn the fuel pump on. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's running. And then the strobe and work lights. Now, the strobe, that's good for that. And these work lights, probably doesn't look like it, but they're bright as heck. It's really good for in the fall, winter, whenever the days are real short. You can kick those, I mean, you work right up till daylight, and then right up till it gets dark, and then kick those on and finish up the day. Some stuff I carry here in the toolbox. I've got a 3/4 inch Craftsman socket set for any big stuff that I get into. It goes up to 2.5 inch or something. Brake cleaner and just some miscellaneous stuff, some extra grease, breaker bar or cheater pipe, big pry bar, 20-volt Lincoln grease gun. That's jumper cables in that ammo can. These are hydraulic caps and plugs, which if you have an account set up at a hydraulic shop supply, this is something I would recommend setting up, because they're great for a couple reasons. If you spring a hydraulic leak and you got to change a hose or so, well, if that hose is connected straight to the hydraulic tank, it's going to keep leaking. Well, you can just pop one of these on there and cap it. Not a big deal. And then you can plug your hose and you take it into the hydraulic shop and you're not leaking oil all over. And then when you put your new hose on to route it, a lot of times it's got to go through some nasty stuff where you put caps on them and then you route them through there and they don't get dirty. This box is all JIC stuff. That box is all flat face. I don't have the full spectrum, but I've got every size that I've encountered on any equipment that I have. John Deere's running, newer John Deere is running this flat face stuff, and some older stuff is running JIC as well as CAT. So this covers everything that I have. So I really don't need to branch out from that. Just some miscellaneous stubby and regular gear wrenches. They're in the bottom of the box. Really don't ever get used, but just handy to have. 65-quart Engel cooler, right up there with a Yeti. About the same thing, just a different brand. Great cooler. Pricey. I mean, like a $350 cooler, but I tell you what, it'll hold ice for a long time. It's rugged. I've been really, really happy with it. I would buy another one. This is it's made by John Deere. I mean, that's their name on it anyway. It's what they call a road box. It's a toolbox set up for having on a truck. Got 5 slider drawers in it. It's kind of jumbled from driving around right now, but got miscellaneous screwdrivers and hammers and whatnot. That's a grease fitting assortment for changing grease fittings, or for when I change grease fittings. Little butane torch, handy as all hell. Use it for lighting little fires if I got oily rags that I gotta burn, or mainly what I use it for is heat shrink tubing. For taking that heat shrink tubing, a lot of times is I will take a typical one of these cheapo plastic butt connectors like this. I'll cut the insulation off of it to get that metal piece on the inside, and I will use the metal piece and put that heavy heat shrink tubing over the top of it and make my own connector. That's good for if you're in a tight spot. You can make a lot smaller crimp with that than you can a typical butt connector. Just miscellaneous wrenches and sockets and whatnot, and pry bars and pliers, and you know, don't carry everything out there in the woods, but so far I've been able to fix everything I've encountered in the last 6 or 8 years out of what I'm carrying. And if it's major, you know, I'll just have to pull it in and redo it. I'm in the midst of phasing out all my 18-volt stuff and going to 20-volt DeWalt tools. Hold on here. And actually in the midst of doing that right now. I got this bag at Lowe's. It's pretty handy. Actually got these pockets for all the batteries. I've actually got one tool I'm waiting on to order still. 1/2-inch impact, 1/4-inch impact driver, grinder, hammer drill, LED flashlight, sawzall, and I'm waiting on my 3/8 impact still yet. These things are handy. We use these for cutting off broken main lines, and I'll put a flap wheel on there and dress up chainsaw bars, clean up choker bells, use this for just all kinds of stuff, engine panels and belly pans, and really if you use that for engine panels, it's a little excessive. That's where the 3/8 comes in. Just used that the other day for cutting a bolt off on the manifold of that dozer, so I could put new bolts in it. I couldn't get to it. The original bolt been there a long time, wouldn't come out, so I used that to cut it off. And that pretty much sums up what I carry. All those tools will go in this toolbox, organized, neat, pretty easy to get to. You know, not the best setup, but works for me and still allows me to use my truck with being able to pull a gooseneck trailer. There's times a service bed would be nice, with a welder and whatnot and a generator. I'm not that good a welder. I'm a good enough welder to know that if it really needs welded, to have somebody else do it. So I don't even bother with a generator. I've got a Honda EU 3000, one of those suitcase style generators that's just handy as all heck. And pick it up, set it on the bed, take it to the job with me. I'll run equipment, the block heaters with it for when it's real cold. Let it run for 45 minutes or an hour, and the machine will fire right up. So, you know, I was looking at doing a service truck, and I was looking at a 5500 Dodge. Was going to be buying a $45,000 truck with a $10,000 bed on it, having $55,000 in a system that wouldn't have really been any better than what I'm running now. So I just had a hard time with that, so I decided to stick with what I had and go this route, and I haven't looked back. I've been able to do everything I wanted with this setup right here, and gonna keep it that way as long as that system works. But just want to share some of this stuff with you. If you guys got any ideas on things that you think I ought to be carrying, or hopefully maybe I shed some light on some stuff that would help you, that you can start carrying and make your life easier. But see y'all later. Have a good one.